I want to read a news article to you, but first there's some money mentioned in the article, and I want you to see some pictures in order to really appreciate the article. Here is a $100 bill. Now, if you have 100 of those, you have $10,000, and this is what that looks like. If you have 100 of these, then you have $1 million, and here's what that looks like. You could carry that in a briefcase. $100 million is a little harder to carry around. It's almost as tall as you are, and a lot broader. Now, $1 billion looks like this. If you had 1,000 of them, this is what that would look like. If you kept it all at home and you moved, you would need many trucks. This is about how much gold there was in the World Trade Center. 950 billion in gold. This is what $1 trillion looks like. Here's a football field and a jumbo jet next to $1 trillion. That's how much $1 trillion is. Now let's put the Statue of Liberty in here, and let's take a look at $15 trillion. The figures in these articles is about twice that much. Look at how much money that is. That's how much money they stole from the world in bailing out their companies. Now, let's read the article. Digging deeper into who controls the world. Susan Jennings, activist post. As we delve deeper into world control, more information arises that helps us understand the current global situation. Many people are unaware of the interconnectedness between the largest global companies. 80% of the world's wealth appears to be earned by a core of 1,318 corporations, which in turn are being controlled by only 147 companies. 75% of these companies are financial institutions, and the top companies are the list of the Federal Reserve banks. The Federal Reserve created $26 to $29 trillion worth of bailouts for their own companies between 2007 and 2010. This was revealed by their own audit statements and confirmed by the United States congressmen and prominent financial analysts. Please note that the Federal Reserve, created in 1913, is a private corporation controlled by international bankers. Anytime the Fed prints money, Federal Reserve notes, the American taxpayer is charged interest on the amount printed. Alan Greenspan admitted that the Federal Reserve is an independent agency. There is no other agency in government who can overrule actions we take. As they understood the extreme dangers to our life and liberty, our founding fathers were adamantly opposed to a central, privately controlled bank. This global control occurs in multiple ways. Different companies have the same board members. This also includes members of the same family who may be on different boards. The ongoing movement between government leaders into private sector executive board positions or lobbying positions for companies they formerly regulated, and vice versa. Tim Geithner, former New York Federal Reserve Bank president, becomes Obama administration Treasury Secretary. Stocks or bonds held in other companies. Goldman Sachs considering keeping majority of Facebook shares in initial public stock offering. The division of competing brand names owned by the same company, Procter & Gamble. Funding through private foundations for various associations. The American Medical Association since 1910 and National Education Association are heavily funded by the Rockefeller and Carnegie Foundations. Helpful when you want to control public health and education. The ease with which those in power move between the fewer and fewer global companies and political offices. The majority of radio, television, and large internet companies has become concentrated into the hands of just a few companies. 50 independent companies once comprised the media as of 1983. Now the following companies decide what is news: Time Warner, CNN, TBS, TNT, AOL, Fortune, People, News Corp, Fox, New York Post, Wall Street Journal, MarketWatch.com, Walt Disney, ABC, ESPN, Miramax, Pixar, Bertelsmann, most EU stations, Random House, National Geographic magazines, Viacom, CBS, Simon & Schuster, Comedy Central, BET, Paramount, and GENBC, Telemundo, MSNBC. They decide what is news. Such consolidation creates the ability to easily manipulate the masses via television, radio, and printed media. This includes global news, political information, science, health, and social values, which we have all seen go down the toilet. The desensitization to dead bodies and increasing violence, glorification of antisocial behavior, that is, the ones doing the most lying, cheating, and stealing are the winners. The invasive surveillance systems to acclimate the public to a complete loss of privacy and the lack of unbiased actual reporting on critical events. As a result, the NDAA, SOPA, and PIPA legislation have all had a positive slant on them in mainstream media. The NDAA wipes out the Fourth Amendment right to due process, and the latter two proposed laws removes our free access to websites, giving the government the right to take down internet sites at will. Thus, their interests seem to be solely in maximizing their profits, no matter what the detrimental effects on the environmental, social, and health of all life, all the while maintaining control of the global population through massive manipulation. These few controlling global companies have financial interests in the non-renewable energy industry and pharmaceutical companies. An example being that the latest information on the BP Gulf of Mexico oil spill and the Japanese Fukushima nuclear meltdowns reveal initial disinformation of the actual extent of these catastrophic events. Here in Texas, the ads run by the natural gas drilling companies purporting to protect the water supply are a good example of test results being ignored, especially when tap water, stock tanks, and groundwater continue to show contamination of toxic, cancer-causing chemicals used in the fracking process. So where is the FCC's truth in advertising policy being enforced? Many of the so-called news stories about new drugs or new types of medical testing or equipment are actually produced by the companies who are selling these drugs, tests, and equipment. Also, they influence the health profession directly. This source shows payments made to doctors and health professionals for drug promotions. The amount for Texas is over $59 million. Politics has become blatantly corrupted and immoral. So long as it suits a super PAC, Political Action Committee, agenda, there are zero limits as to the validity of their ads for their candidate. The Supreme Court January 21, 2010 decision on the Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission gave corporations, legal entities with no human attributes, the same constitutional free speech rights as humans. 30 years ago, this court ruled that spending money is a part of free speech. This ruling overturned the part of McCain-Feingold campaign finance reform that prohibited corporate and union-funded campaign advertising within 90 days of an election. Montana's Supreme Court restored their state's 100-year-old ban on direct corporate spending on January 12, 2012. This will force a revisit of this matter back to the federal Supreme Court. Speaking of elections, did anyone happen to hear that a Barcelona, Spain company, Skittle, SOE Software, operates as ClarityElections.com and reports election results in over 525 jurisdictions through one access point? Thank you, Mark, for the link to Black Box Voting. Unless you consider the Supreme Court appointing a president, replacing computer equipment to modify results, or even a hacker changing votes as viable, these untraceable ballots are unconstitutional, as we are guaranteed the right to audit election results. Smoke and mirrors are in constant use to confuse, create fear, and to manipulate the masses. Using fear is the basis for starting conflicts between groups. The us against them, divide and conquer mentality has worked for millennia. Whether it is religious contention, most religions are based in love. Politics, political parties are funded by global interests. See Follow the Money or Open Secrets. Or science versus nature. Bill Gates saying that GMO crops will feed the world. It is all about the 147's global control of the people, resources, countries, and wealth. It's up to us. There are many people working diligently to restore our Constitution and Bill of Rights and world freedoms. People with integrity, including those who took the oath to uphold our Constitution. There are many, and the key is to understand that they are for the people. We must be extremely observant about how the 147 will use the media in their final attempt to retain their devastating reign on America and the world. Again, it is up to us to look fearlessly beyond the mirrors and smoke for the truth. Those restoring the Constitution and our freedoms need our support. We must be courageous and strong as we return America and the world to we the people.